see if we're actually streaming. Are we live? I think we're live. Okay, a little bit of a delay, but it seems it's fine. Let's get a little monitor here. Let me mute this. Mute my little monitor down here, and let's go to the browser. And just make sure everything looks good. It all looks good. If anybody's in chat a little early, can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me fine and see everything fine? Got a little iPhone down here. You might see me looking down occasionally. All good? All right, thank you, Vicente. All right, it's 3, so let's kick this off. Awesome, it's great to have you here. So yeah, if you had a chance to see the Works on My Machine video, I'd started doing the test and commit or revert process with Advent of Code day 4, which you can see the problem here where it talks about, there's a little bit of a backstory, but the problem is you get this matrix of text. You need to find the string XMAS in the input, and we have a test input here with a little bit of an example of what you're looking for. So XMAS, and then the test input from the original video, you can see the Xmas across, and then the down here it shows all of the different matches. So the diagonal, the backwards, the up, the across, and I'm sure there's a down one somewhere. I guess we need to support down, but this is one of the things that they do in Advent of Code is the directions will tell you all of the important things, but the test input might not have ways to check that. So I imagine the puzzle input is going to have a problem. But with that, we can go ahead and jump over to the code that we had for the demo, and we can see we're back here with the puzzle input and the tests, and I do have this project set up a little bit with, days, implementation folder, spec folder, a template to kind of copy as I go through each day, some solution files that I'll use to run to test the solution, but it all is pretty standard and pretty minimal. So the problem here is we need to take the test input, or we need to take the input, which we have test input, and we have regular input, which is a much bigger matrix of characters. A little too big for this screen, but it's the same idea as the test input, where it's line by line, character by character. And so we need to find the string Xmas across, forward, backwards, up, down, and diagonal. And we're going to try doing it with the TCR process. And so, like I mentioned, I've learned that it's best to start to do this, to break the problem down into small pieces. And so the first thing I think we would try to do here is if we describe, and let's do one where it counts the Xmas's across, matches across, and it turns the number of Xmas's of XMAS strings forward, matches, let's say matches forward. Oh, what's a good name for this? Matches forward horizontally. Returns the number of Xmas strings forward horizontally. And we can do p equals puzzle.new, and let's do a different way to do the test input so that we can have a much clearer test here. But we want to say, let's say it's a string, and if we do, I think we can do something like test input let's say, let's look at what this test input is here, and let's just take 2 lines. MMMSXXMASM and MSAMXMSMSA. Seems fine for the first test, and let's see what we've got here. We do expect p dot matches forward horizontally dot to equal 1, right? Because there's only that first line XMAS, and this one it has it backwards, so we don't want to count that one. So let's do this, and I have this hotkey set up of option G, which is going to run the TCR task, and so it's going to test failed. Interesting. Okay. I need to actually close the close the describe block correctly. Okay, so let's try that again. Describe matches forward horizontally. Oh, this is a lot less fun to watch on stream, as these minor errors do kind of trip you up, but I guess it does make you focus a little bit more on what you're doing. It returns the count of Xmas strings forward horizontally, and p equals puzzle new. Which editor am I using? So this is Z. It's how do I describe Z? I think there's a lot of work going into it originally for making it a kind of like a good editor for pair programming, and they've been doing a lot more with AI lately. But I'm really using it because it is very responsive for these kind of these scripts that I'm running outside. You can see the text pop into these files that we're editing in the command line, so it's also very good for refreshing like that. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to really use many of its pairing utilities just yet, but yeah, would love to at some point. P dot matches forward horizontal 1, and let's make sure we got this matched, and let's run it again and try that. Yeah, the other really nice thing is it does allow me to create these kind of tasks in these task runners, which I haven't really pushed into, but even just a little bit here, you can see that I have this set up, this tasks.json file for run TCR task, and I have it set up to actually like output the files. It does look like there are ways to kind of dynamically add that in, but I opted for doing getting it working first and then optimizing it a little later. Cool. So we looks like this actually passed this time, and we can look at what AI came up with. Right. So it scans the rows horizontally. Yeah, definitely makes it ideal to build the Copilot agent. It's very cool to see it as like a live HUD. I tried doing it in Vim for a while, but you kept getting that error of like this file is edited outside of outside of the buffer, and having to go through this loop of trying to save and resave and save the file again. But yeah, okay, cool. So now if we do describe, so we got matches forward horizontally. Let's do matches backward horizontally. And yeah, one of the nice things about that last method is it does actually have the XMAS backwards here, and it's not counting it. So let's say returns the count of Xmas strings backwards horizontally, and p equals puzzle. Actually, I can just copy this same thing here, and let's see. We can do this, and let's see what it does. Let's see what AI does here. My inclination is to give it to change the puzzle input a little bit, because the backward horizontally, because the input's the same and the output's the same, and I think it might accidentally get it, but curious to see what it does here. So this is also another thing I find myself doing, is really testing the AI to see what it's going to do and how it's going to understand my my inputs. I think I mentioned somewhere where I posted this, where it does occasionally turn into the like the little bit of a, I don't know what the right word is, cheeky ping pong pair, where you're like, it should do this, and it should return, it should equal 1, and then you just put return 1. When it does that, it is kind of a signal you need to kind of add more test cases, but here we are. But we've got backwards horizontally. Let's say describe matches upwards vertically, returns the count of Xmas strings upwards vertically. And so the way I'm approaching this, I think it's probably a giveaway, is build this up by what are the things we're going to calculate inside each for each thing, for each way where we're counting this, and then at the end have a count Xmas that returns the sum of all of those, to kind of give the AI the starting point of, here are all these functions to calculate this in different ways, and then return the sum of those. And so let's go ahead and do p equals puzzle.new. Let's see, so we're going to need 4 lines, and I wish I could remember the syntax for here docs. Actually, I can probably sneak a look somewhere else. So it is arrow dash dash. Let me copy. There we go. Let's see if this will work. So if I can do, thanks Vicente. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Input. There we go. So that'll look a lot nicer for us as we start to kind of copy these. let's say. Cool. And so are there any upwards vertically in this already? No, but let's make one. X M A S X M A M. Actually, let's make two. XMAS, XMAS, and that's the only ones it can be. Okay, and so expect matches upwards vertically. Two, save it, and let's run the tests. And we can see this actually kind of pop in. Oh, the test failed. Okay. Let's see what it did wrong here. Expected 2 got 0. So it did calls equal rows.map characters.transpose. Calls.sum, call.join.scan, xmas count. Interesting. Okay, let's see. I'm curious to see what that actually does. So a equals some string a.map chars.transpose. Or a.chars.transpose. Still no. Interesting. No implicit conversion of string to array. I see. So if we do array, so it's an array of arrays is what we've got. So if we do strings equals string 1, string 2, if we do strings dot map pairs dot transpose. Okay, so now we've got those, and then first dot join. Interesting. I wonder what's going on. So let's, instead of doing these fake strings, let's do these actual strings and see what. Here's the transpose, right, some string. Yeah, I wonder what it's getting wrong here, because it should, it looks like it should find these strings. So let's see if we say rows equals, looks like this should have done it. So what did we get wrong here? How would we describe this problem differently? Or how did we describe this problem in this way that got the AI to create that solution, and then rows.map pairs.transpose. Join. So it looks like it got one of them, that's the last one, and then this one. So it did it backwards, or it expected the string to be reverse. So this one, so the way it did backwards horizontally, reverse scan Xmas. This one, the input is SAMX, not XMAS. Interesting. Okay, so that's that. How could we phrase this problem differently to get the AI to understand it? Let's say describe matches. Well, so it knows how to do it downwards. So let's try downwards horizontally. It returns the count of Xmas strings down or downwards vertically. Downwards vertically. P equals puzzle dot new. And then if we say copy this and do that the other way, XMAS, and that's the only one. Let's do 2 again. XMAS, and say expect P dot matches downward vertically. Equal 2. Save it and run it again. And we passed implement test matching Xmas strings downward vertically. And so now it should have been basically the same implementation, but it isn't. It actually looks like they did it a different way. So we got the count vertical string. Interesting. Okay. Calls that length. Okay. So this one's different implementation, which I think in the post I also mentioned like thinking about tests like the prompt, but we're also sending the code in, so the code is also a prompt to work with. So let's see here. So now if we try to do describe matches upwards vertically, and it returns the count of Xmas strings upwards vertically, and we copy most of this. Upwards vertically, so we have XMAS, and one here. Let's do MAS. Yes, and let's actually do 3 XMAS. XMAS, okay, and 3. And yeah, here's another example where, I saved a handful of times, and I had originally set up the TCR agent to get triggered every time I save a file, but I do tend to habitually save, and I don't want it to, run the tests and trigger and try to run the test, if I forgot an end or closed a block or anything. But okay, so here's matches upwards vertically. Run it again, and it failed again. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. It got 1 and expected 3, and what happened here? Vertical vertical string row down to 0. Interesting. So this is another thing that I found really interesting with working in this fashion with AI is that there is a lot of path dependent or path or what's the right word? The existing code does tend to influence the what it does, and so here it's it decided to do this same style versus the original style the last time we did it when this matches downward vertically didn't exist. Down to row and down to 0. It's nothing jumps out at me that would be wrong here. But also I didn't write this code, so I'm not don't exactly have it in my head right now. Let's try phrasing this test a little different and see if that changes anything. So go back here and describe matches bottom up. It returns the count of Xmas strings starting from the bottom and working its way up. Let's see if that changes the output at all. And let's keep it at 3, XMAS, XMAS, and XMAS. Let's try that one. Sometimes the way that you phrase it or the method that you give, it might give you different output. So let's see see if it'll do it this time. Still failed. Okay, and it actually did the same code here. I wonder what the issue is. Let's see. And it found how many? Expected 3, got 1. It only got 1. Oops. For row and rows dot length. And let's see. What is it getting wrong here? And if we do here, RB, can do this and require relative day 4 implementation puzzle, and do puzzle.new, and do p dot matches bottom up. It's doing it again. It's not reversing it. It's got it backwards, right? Okay, so it seems to be there's a really interesting thing that we need to do to phrase this differently to get it to do it right. And I guess this is also something that as you try to describe problems or phrase them to people, it can be interpreted differently. So what's interesting too is different models will interpret these differently as well. So let's say describe matches vertically reversed and it returns the count of Xmas strings vertically going backwards. So I guess like vertically, thinking vertically starts top to bottom, reversed is bottom to top. And so if we go here, we can see this in action and move on from this one function. XMAS and XMAS, and we've got 3 matches vertically reversed, and see if it happens. Still failed. Interesting. This one, same deal, huh? It has the reverse scan here. Let's do the same thing. Let's do here. And go back here. Be and do p dot matches vertically reversed. One, two, or let's see, XMAS. XMAS, did I not do XMAS? XMAS, XMAS. So these last two are not. Oh right, let's see. Let's copy this new one that we used. And matches vertically reversed. So let's say XMAS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last two should be. This one actually has have a bug in it. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it looks like it actually has a couple things going wrong here. It's not actually getting all of the columns either. So maybe we need to do a little bit more on the backwards before we jump into, or the downwards before we jump into this here. So let's do another puzzle input for matches downward vertically, because like I was saying before, the code that exists does influence the code that's generated, and so if there is a bug here, it will propagate. And so I guess it must be that calls.length. So let's say it returns the count of Xmas strings downwards vertically with a horizontally long, horizontally long input. So let's get it to count all of these. inputs because it looks like it chopped off the last bit because this was the only Xmas. So let's do X M A S and double these. And so then we should have, we've got XMAS1, XMAS2, XMAS3, XMAS4, XMAS5, XMAS6, and go. Failed again. Interesting. This is one of the failure cases of doing things this way. Oh, interesting. It also had a syntax error in the matches downwards horizontally. Huh. That doesn't happen that often. Huh. Unmatched curly. Missing end. Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, weird. Yeah, this. It did. Looks like this was an AI issue, and it gave us curly braces instead of end. Huh. Another thing that can go wrong. This is what I was going to say is like another failure case is you do get kind of caught up here in this loop where you're trying to figure out how to phrase this problem in a way that that it solves it. And one of the things I have found I had to do occasionally is just go and delete something that we can't get to work, and try to get it to generate from scratch. So let's say returns the count of Xmas strings downwards vertically with a long horizontal input. We'll bring this in here. Do the same thing we just did. One, two, three, four. That's right. X M A S X M A S X 3 4. So it's not 6. And if we run it, maybe get past this first. Oh, failed again. This is not going the way I thought it was going to go. And yeah, it looks like there's actually something weird is going on from the agent code, which I haven't really seen too often. But when this happens, one of the things I do tend to do is I will save this and go ahead and let this delete. And then I'm going to jump over to editing the agent. And let's see what happens if we give it files. we can be a little bit more specific here of follow standard. This project is in Ruby, so follow standard Ruby idioms and formatting. And let's see if that changes anything. There's another of the weird things about and this didn't revert either. And so if we bring this back and we try to run this again, changing the prompt a little bit, we still failed. Did it fail for the same reason? No, but it got 0, and the match is downward horizontally, corrected the loop condition. I guess it didn't. Let's try one more time here. And there we go. And sometimes you just need to give it another shot. Let's see, the optimize vertical search for long horizontal input test case. Optimize vertical search in the input to reduce unnecessary checks by subtracting 3 instead of 4 from the columns length. So this is another example here of what we were talking about originally, of like giving it a good prompt, or being like a really pedantic ping pong pair. The input that I'm giving it has has the inputs at three columns back. So let's try this and see what it does. It'll probably blow up and yell at me, but let's see. Hey, look at that. Fixed, corrected, matching, test case, vertical matching is incorrectly stopping one column too early. Cool. It's still doing number of columns to check -4. Let's try expanding this a little bit more, where we take this test and add another height. Let's double this, which will double the inputs, or the outputs. Vertically with a long horizontal and long vertical input. Run it. And test failed. Great. 4, expected 4 got 5, and that's probably on my end for not paying attention and not counting the number of Xmas's that could be here, huh? Let's see, what's a good way to, let's go ahead and blow that up. And let's see, we go here, copy this, and with a long horizontal input, long horizontal and long vertical input. And instead of just blindly copying all of these, what we can do is we'll do 2 of these, which, since there's MM and we do want to have one that best way to do this. Alright, what we'll do is that line, these 3 lines, and let's just do X. So if we've got XMAS, there's 1. There's none here. 2. None here. None here. None here. XMAS 3. XMAS 4. X. Nothing here. 5. XMAS 5. XMAS 6. XMAS 7. XMAS 8. So now there should be 8. And let's try that again. Test failed. This is a great stream. This is exactly what I had in mind when I said I was going to stream this. Expected 4 and got 5. So the other test actually failed when it changed the long horizontal input. Expected 4, got 5. Did that change at all? XMAS 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There should actually be 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those tests shouldn't have failed, but the test was wrong. So let's actually save this rather than subjecting anybody watching this to some more of this nonsense. So this actually has 5, and if we put here, now we run it, and thank you for sticking with me, Vicente. This was not, did it not save? Expected 5, got 4 now. This is completely going off the rails. But, obviously this is, I'm still learning how best to TDD with an AI, and this is wild. Going to keep running into issues like this. Yeah, so maybe let's try that other thing I was saying where we'll go here, we'll undo that change, save this, we've got 8 and 5, and then let's actually delete this method that already exists and try to run this again. Fail again. Let's see, expected 8 got 10. Did I miss some, or is there a bug in this code? Let's see. 1, 2, yes, there must be a bug in the code because we copied the previous input. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay, so this is also one of the tough parts about doing this on a stream is that I psych myself out trying to make things go smoother and feel like I need to talk and end up making a lot of mistakes. But if you're doing this on your own, you can be a little bit more intentional and not have to not be talking through, be focused on the input, which I did for, not to say that I didn't run into, kind of silly errors like this in day 1, 2, and 3, but this again, they were a lot less embarrassing. There we go. We made it past downwards vertically, and let's see, it's still doing rows -4. Well, okay, yeah, because it wants to check for the height. Let's see. Refactor, fix vertical matching, and add comprehensive test case. The commit refactors the matches downward vertically method to correctly iterate through the rows. When searching for vertical matches, it also includes a new test case with larger, more complex input to ensure the vertical matching function works correctly under all conditions. And so the other thing, I don't know if I mentioned it anywhere, but this this commit message is actually generated by AI as well. But so now, let's see what happens if we go back here and I can collapse these to make this a little bit easier to read. Matches downward vertically, and let's say describe matches reversed vertically. Let's try upwards vertically, just for the symmetry. And then let's say it returns the count of Xmas strings upwards vertically. And we can open this back up and copy this. See if we can get this. So we can get this test passing finally. And so we've got XMAS and XMAS. Here goes nothing. Look at that. It passed. So it's a start. It's probably going to be very influenced by the other function, which, I mean, honestly, if I were to be writing this code, I would probably be doing the same thing. Is look at the styles of the code that already exist and try to copy them. And yeah, so this is much better implementation than we were at earlier. At least better in the sense of like being able to read it and understand it. I can see that it's doing the rows, matches downwards vertically, matches upwards vertically. And yeah, I don't know. Learned a bunch even just doing this live where how you can get tricked by some of the tests actually passing, and if you're not completely it might generate code that is very specific to getting your test to pass, which is technically correct, but not exactly what you're looking for, which is a huge trap. And this is even a trap if we were to write it out and give it some examples. It might write code that just solves this one particular example. And at least with tests, you can start to iterate on the input and make sure that the code implementation is comprehensive. But one of the nice things is that as you saw me delete the function when we started to run into this case of like it's copying the style and really just like continuing to get it wrong. The code really doesn't matter. It's the tests that matter, and the tests are the executable prompt to get the code that you want. And all you really need to do is save the tests rather than really even worry about the code. And we could delete the. Let's just go ahead and do that. One of the things that we can do is just delete this code, save it, and run, and it's gonna hopefully one-shot this. Hey, test pass, improve readability. We can keep doing this over and over, and it will make slightly different changes, which I wonder what it actually did. So if we do git log and That's interesting. It didn't actually commit that one. What? 50, 54. Measures downward vertically. There must not have been any changes. It must have. It must have just. I guess I need to make a note of that. It needs to be able to handle. We want to still commit even if it's going to be empty changes. So. But interesting. I'd fix that bug in the TCR agent. But we got a few more minutes left. I was planning on doing this for about an hour. Was planning on getting a lot further than 2 functions, but I hope this was interesting. I hope this was kind of what you were looking for, Vicente, or anybody that stuck around for for an hour now. I find this something like this is really interesting to me because I I feel like I'm learning how best to prompt the LLM and see where my understanding or where I've relied more on the context I have in my head, or when I'm pairing the context that I have with my pair, that you get a little bit of benefit of the doubt, and with an LLM you don't get that. And I think going forward, especially as we get into a place where thanks, yeah, very cool. I really appreciate you sticking with me. Yeah, it's very, very interesting to think about, as we have more AI generated code, as we lean into more of these tools, that we learn and become better at describing explicitly what we want. Otherwise, we're going to fall into these traps where it works on this input of 10 across, but 11 across, it's not going to work. And I've already heard some anecdotes from people of, running into a bug or getting a bug report and looking at the code and being like, this was clearly just a blind accept from ChatGPT or Copilot, and yes, it technically worked for the story that the person wrote it for, but it doesn't work the way that you would expect that method to work, and you start to question a lot of the code. But if you come from this place where this is the specification, this is all of the things this function can do, you can start to get to a place where you have at least enough trust that the tests do what they say they do, but nothing more. Where I think if we were working on a team, there might be a little bit of an implication of matches upwards vertically works in the universal sense and not just on the input in the test. But yeah, we're just about at time. This was a lot of fun. If this is interesting, I can probably start doing this a little bit more often. Hopefully I will get better and we'll get a lot further. There will be a lot more to learn. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. I'm going to end the stream now. Thanks. Bye.